Good evening. Here is the world news from BGI TV, Baba Bagede Ibon TV. I am Morire Rebila Lawal. First are the major headlines. President Buhari presides over Federal Executive Council meeting. Nigeria's inflation hits 21.82%. FG takes action against Simon Ekpa. Appointment of justice shrouded in secrecy, retired High Court judges. Violent protests in Edo, Delta, Oyo over naira scarcity. Osun Amotekun begins night patrol to curb crimes. Court remands suspected killers of Fatinoye's family. Court disbands Ebube Agu security outfits. And also, EU passes law to ban petrol, diesel, engine vehicles. And on sport from the boxing angle, Adesanya plans to retire within 5 years. Now the news in details. The President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, is currently presiding over the meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the Council Chambers of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Buhari arrived at the Council Chambers at around 11 a.m., about an hour after the usual time of 10 a.m. Present are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, and Head of Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi Eson. Also present are Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, Justice Abubakar Malami, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Antami, Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, and Education, Adamu. Others are the Ministers of Humanitarian Services, Disaster Management and Social Development, Saidia Farouk, Health, Dr. Osage Ehanere, as well as Minister of State for Agriculture, Mustafa Sheuri, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, among others. To the next story, Nigeria's January inflation figure rose from 21.34% in December to 21.82% in January, according to National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) recent data. The January 2023 inflation rate showed an increase of 0.47% point when compared to December 2022 inflation rate. However, on a year-on-year basis, the headline's inflation rate was 6.22% higher compared to the rates recorded in January 2022, which was 15.60%. The data showed that the headline inflation rate year-on-year basis increased in January 2023 compared to the same month in the preceding year, January 2022. To the next story this hour, the federal government, FG, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has summoned the Finnish ambassador to Nigeria, Lina, over the anti-democratic and rebellious activities of a factional leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Simon Ekpa. Politics Group Nigeria report that Ekpa is a self-acclaimed disciple of Nnamdi Kanu, the 10th leader of IPOB. According to public available records, the controversial agitator is an indigene of Oaku, local government area of Ebonyi State. Aside from using his social media pages for agitations, he also deploys the platforms to spark controversies and disseminate fake news. On several occasions, Ekpa's social media posts were flagged as fake news by fact-checkers and authorities. Through his social media pages, the Finland-based separatists also solicit funds for the activities of the proscribed Eastern Security Network, ESN, IPOB's armed wing. At a meeting with the ministry on Tuesday, Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema expressed displeasure over the orders given by Ekpa to his teeming followers, who allegedly consequently embarked on killings, maiming, burning, and other destructive activities. To the next story. A retired High Court judge in Kogi State, Justice Alaba Omolaye Ajileye, has faulted the process of appointment of judicial officers in Nigeria. Justice Adeleye, who x-rayed the judiciary Wednesday in Lokoja during a valedictory court session in his honor, said the process of appointing judicial officers in Nigeria is shrouded in secrecy and clandestineness. Citing evils associated with appointment, Justice Adeleye said there is no transparency in the process of appointing judicial officers. Another evil is the recommendations of Honorable Justice and Honorable Justice don't count. The act of calling for recommendations looks to me like a ritual exercised merely to fulfill all righteousness. Those who would be appointed would still be appointed with or without recommendations. The number of recommendations a candidate receives guarantees nothing for him. The third evil I have seen is that the person a candidate knows matters a lot, and that person must carry a lot of weight. Moving on to the next story. Across the country, violent protests have erupted in some states of the Federation over the scarcity of old and new Naira notes. Footage obtained from netizens on Wednesday morning captured aggrieved protesters wielding clubs, machete, and other dangerous weapons in Edo, Delta, and Oyo State respectively. The aggrieved protesters were seen invading banks and destroying other public properties in the aforesaid states. Palpable tension has continued to rise in various parts of the country over the shortage of cash and fuel, which is affecting daily life and business opportunities and operations. Though all the three northern states, Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara, initially instituted an action to challenge the new monetary policy that was introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. However, when the matter came up before the Supreme Court on Wednesday, 7 other states applied and were joined as co-plaintiffs in the suits. Moving on to Southwest. As the 2023 general election comes closer, the Osun State Command of the Amotekun has put up in place measures that will ensure a peaceful election. The Corps Commander of Osun Amotekun Corps, Brigadier General Bashir Adewimbi, said there would be robust intelligence gathering as operatives of the Corps are working with its sources of actionable intelligence to checkmate potential threats in every part of the states. Adewimbi, according to a press statement made available to journalists in Osogbo, the state capital, on Tuesday by the PRO of the Corps, Yusuf Idowu, said Amotekun will be deployed for the patrol to complement the efforts of the Nigerian police to checkmate crime before, during, and after the forthcoming general election in the states. We are embarking on high visibility vehicular patrols in the Osogbo metropolis and its environs to deter would-be criminal element and complement the measure of the police to checkmate any criminals that can come to the states. Moving on to the next story. An Abeokuta Chief Magistrate Court sitting in Ogun State has remanded in prison custody for 6 days the suspected killers of Abeokuta couple Kehinde and Bukola Fatinoye and their only surviving son, Oreoluwa. The suspected killers, Adekombi, Lekon, Odetola Ahmed, and Adeni Wahid, were remanded in Oba Correctional Center, while the accomplices, Father Iro, Temitope, and Adekombi Adenike, the girlfriend and mother of the mastermind, Lekon, were remanded in Ibara Correctional Center. The suspected buyers of a vehicle stolen from the deceased compound, Owolaja and Noluakbo, and Usman Aziz, were also remanded in Oba Prison for 60 days. The remand for 60 days in the first instance, according to the Chief Magistrate Esther Idowu, was pending the legal advice of the Department of Public Prosecution, DPP. Although the accused persons were not allowed to take their pleas because of the nature of the case, an application for remand was however moved by Oluwatosin Jackson, the applicant's counsel. To the next story from the East. The Federal High Court sitting in Abakaliki on Tuesday disbanded the Southeast Security Outfit Ebubiagu in Ebonyi State. According to the court, the disbursement of the security outfit was as a result of human rights abuses, extortions, illegal arrests, and use of firearms. The Southeastern Regional Security Outfit, called Ebubiagu on 12 April 2021, came into existence. This Let group came after long public pressure from the citizens due to the rising insecurity. The operations of these regional networks of security to support policing in their various zones attracts different levels of legitimation from the population in their operational basis. At the time the Ebubiago security outfit was launched, ESN was already confronting the violent herdsmen in different parts of the southeast. IPOB in question had declared that it was not going to coexist with Ebubiago in the region. To the foreign story. The European Parliament on Tuesday approved a law to ban the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles across European Union nations by 2035, with the aim of wrapping up the production of electric cars and combating climate change. The law passed in Strasbourg aims to give European automakers a clear time frame to switch to production of electric vehicles and counter competition from China and the United States. Let me remind you that Mr. Maturin added, these are good cars. These are cars that will be more and more affordable, and we need to compete with them. We don't want to give up this essential industry to outsiders. The new legislation demands by 2035, automakers must achieve a 100% cut in carbon dioxide emissions for each new car sold and a 55% cut in carbon dioxide emissions for cars sold by 2030. Finally, on sport from the boxing angle, former UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya has said that he plans to be out of mixed martial arts at 5 years ahead of his rematch with Alex Pereira. The Nigerian star was defeated by long-term rival Pereira last year for the third time in his fighting career, which saw him lose his title. Now the last style bender faces a daunting task of overturning his defeat in a rematch with Spartan on April 9th at the UFC 287 in Miami. Despite suffering defeat last time out, it was Adesanya's first in the middleweight division since joining the UFC, and there is still plenty time to accomplish if he is still able to recover his crown later this year. But the 33-year-old has insisted he will try to end his career on a high and wants to return to his status as the king of the division. I've been in the UFC 5 years, right? Adesanya said during the press conference in Australia while discussing his upcoming rematch with Pereira. That ends the world news this hour. Before we go, some major headlines. President Buhari presides over Federal Executive Council meeting. Nigeria's inflation hits 2.82%. FG takes action against Simon Ekpa. We also brought to you from the Amotekun. Osun Amotekun begins night patrol to curb crimes during and after election. Finally, on sports, Adesanya plans to retire within 5 years. Thank you for watching. For more stories on our YouTube, the handle is Babangagede Imo TV. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Alawiye Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. On Instagram, Bagede Imo _22. For advert placement of your goods and services, coverage of events and functions, please dial the phone number streaming on the screen for advert placements only. Thank you for watching. Aham Morire Rebila Lawal. Good evening.
Oh, na, na, na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV, you're one in a million.